I was thinking not that long ago. I've been walking around town that I've been I've been I've been speaking here for 18 years, which is, I know it's like weird, and like time goes by like this, and that was the impetus for what I thought I would talk about. I'm a forgiveness teacher. I've gone all over the world teaching forgiveness. It's a tough world to try to get people to forgive in now. It would be hard for most of you to imagine the degree of mistrust and hostility that even regular folks have in our polarized world. If you tell a friend of yours who's like a Democrat that you don't like something about the Democrat, they'll accuse you of being a Trump supporter. And if you tell somebody on the other side that you don't agree with every inch of what they're talking about, they accuse you of being disloyal. So we have created a political environment of a profound lack of forgiveness and a profound lack of tolerance, which go together. They're not distinct. You have to be able to tolerate being uncomfortable, and you have to have the humility to be wrong in order to even think about forgiveness. But what was of interest to me was I've been asked multiple questions about self-forgiveness. And that's a different topic than forgiving other people's crappiness. It's about forgiving your own crappiness. And I mean, the good news is that there's a lot of crappiness that you have each done that if you wanted to, you could forgive yourself for. You are all geniuses at doing the wrong thing, about saying the wrong thing, about being selfish, about being unkind without intending to. Anyway, I'm not trying to malign anyone. And noticing that, a good part of this audience is certainly over 21, the essential nature of self-forgiveness to me becomes more profound as we age. That in my accounting of things and my reading of how this world operates, is we have some responsibility to clean up our messes before we die. And I can't put that more bluntly. I can't put that with more emphasis. Most people don't think about it. When they hit senior years, they're not thinking of, wow, where have I screwed up so I can make it right? But I'm going to say that should be a central tenet of senior years. Who do I owe apologies to? Where have I harmed the world so before I leave, I might as well try to make it right? We're so busy thinking about how everybody else is not right and how they're wrong and, how does the world possibly tolerate our genius? We very, very rarely think about all the harm we've caused. And I don't mean that we've all done like terrible things, but I believe that one of our responsibilities, and I've talked to a number of people who have had near-death kind of experiences, and like there's some essential understanding that this whole thing is one whole, that it's not broken. And it's a unitive something. And when we do things that cause suffering, or when we do things that fail without acknowledgement, we've created a little rendering in whatever this thing is perfection. And it's still perfect. But before we go, we have some responsibility / privilege to try to make it right. Like to take out the broom and clean the mess right in front of our own home. Just sweep it, make a nice pile and pick it up, because I believe that's one of the responsibilities of older age, is to look back and, ooh, did I do that? Or, wow, what was I thinking? Now, these are not crimes. It doesn't mean we're terrible people. We're human. We're normal human beings. And normal human beings cause harm. And my belief is that part of the spiritual path is acknowledging the reality of who we are as imperfect. So that whatever technique you use, grace or prayer or meditation or service, you try to become a little more whole. But if you're not honest about what you've done on this planet, you miss the chance to make it right before you go. And I've seen with the more sincere spiritual aspirants, they're honest. They're not filled with the bullshit that many of us were filled with of how wonderful we are. They're honest, and they have love that includes the broken and the hurtful and the difficult and all that stuff. And so I've been coming to understand more the necessity of real self-forgiveness. Not like, not play self-forgiveness like, yeah, I did wrong, okay, fine, I won't do that again. And that's fine too. But I mean in our marriages, with our parents, with our children, with the people we've worked with, the people who matter to us. We need to make it right, if we can, before we go. And we don't know when we're going to go. I gave a talk this Yom Kippur to a temple in Beverly Hills. And I was talking about forgiveness, and it was right in the middle of like Hollywood / wherever the artistic people in Los Angeles live. And there were lots of actors and all sorts of movie people there and artsy people, and that was the crowd. And before I got on whatever it was, I wasn't on a stage, I was just standing. I read a few things about Judaism and Yom Kippur and atonement, and I don't know that much. But there was one famous rabbi talked to one of his parishioners, I guess. I don't know what the word is. But it was a woman who came to the rabbi and said, I know that in our tradition, we're supposed to make amends to anybody we've hurt. Like that's a fundamental tenet of Judaism. Make amends to anyone you've hurt. And she said, well, I'm 40 years old. I got till I'm dead, right? And the rabbi looked at her and said, absolutely, except you have no idea when that will be. And she went, ooh, that's not good. It means I might have to do it now. And that was one of the teaching stories for atonement for Yom Kippur that this temple was providing. And I thought, wow, what a profound story. That you have to make it right. You got till you kick. We just don't know when that is. So that's it's quicksand. Because we have certain responsibilities here. We have certain ways that we need to repair and pay back, and then absolve ourselves of any bad will which is the self-forgiveness piece. But the self-forgiveness piece comes after the making it right. And that's where our culture and our psychology-addicted world is so off the rails. Because they think you got to feel good. And that's not the point at all. The point is to do good. And then you can feel good. And the do good is like directly related, and I've spent enough time dealing with people who have all sorts of drug and alcohol problems. The 12-step programs are absolutely explicit and clear. You're not going to be free until you have made an honest inventory, apologized, made amends where possible. And then you are free of the burden of the harm you have done of being an alcoholic. Not until then. You're not free just because you stop drinking, and you're not free just because, like, oh, I feel good, and I'm willing to forgive myself. You're free because you apologize and make amends. And that's how we get free. And then our hearts are, let it go. No, let it go. You don't have to see yourself any longer as a perpetrator of anything. And you don't have to see yourself as anything more than a human being who flawed, made errors, didn't check out all sorts of things. There's a million reasons why we hurt other human beings and ourselves. And the reasons don't matter that much. But what does matter is that we take responsibility. So in our intimate relationships, that could be a big ask. To really own up to the ways that you didn't fully honor your partner. To look honestly at yourself and say, hey, X, you needed me. I wasn't there. Sorry. When you were going through this hard time, it was too much for me. Sorry. But that's how we make back to stasis in our lives. The other thing it does is it makes all the other people that we might have hurt feel seen. Oh, that's right. You did do that. It's not a crime. Everybody does it. Everybody. But again, when I give talks in front of religious groups, to me, by coming in here, we have all acknowledged our need to make things right. There may be different accounting systems, like, heaven and hell or whatever, and I can't speak on those, but I can speak on mental health, and I can speak on kindness. And so what we have ended up with in our forgiveness work, and it's a derivative of the 12-step programs, is you start with telling the truth to yourself, which is, hey, this is who I am. I'm flawed. I do good things too. It's not just that I'm a bum. I'm flawed, like everybody. The difference with me is, though, I'm going to own it. And I'm going to do what I can to make it right. And sometimes you can't, but you can try. In marriages, like after affairs, there's a lot of forgiveness needed. And sometimes the person having the affair needs a lot of self-forgiveness. Sometimes the person who was badly treated recognizes that they had some complicity in that affair, even though that may not excuse it. They recognize that they weren't the most loving, dedicated partner, so there's self-forgiveness. And then there's just the simple forgiveness of how hard it is to be connected to somebody for decades and make that work. It's just hard. It has nothing to do with individual flaws or individual weakness. It's just hard. So forgiveness is needed. But it can't begin without telling the truth. And we do amazing mental gymnastics to not see ourselves clearly. So another thing, you live with a partner for 30 years, 20 years, they know you like the back of their hand. They tell you you're a lazy bum, and you spend 2 hours telling them that you're not a lazy bum, but they know you so well, and they just look at you like, what are you doing? You're a lazy bum. It's no big deal. I've been with you for 30 years, but you are a lazy bum. Maybe you're not a bum, you're lazy. And we will fight to the death to not hear the truth about us, even from people who know us so well. So telling the truth, that ain't easy. It's painful, because you've built this facade of who you want to make believe you are, not who you actually are. And I believe, from a religious point of view, that also keeps God out, because I don't think whatever God is interested in our BS. Much more interested in us being real. I mean, again, I'm tangential to that. But telling the truth. Like, I tried. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. After telling the truth is a sincere apology. And very few people can humble themselves to have a sincere apology. And a sincere apology stinks because you actually say, I did wrong and it hurt you. There's no BS in that. It's like, it's not, well, and you took it wrong, or I meant well, or let me give you a 4-hour explanation of why, because my parents didn't love me, I couldn't love you, right? None of that has any role in an apology. But we give that kind of nonsense all the time. We want to offer an apology, but have somebody comfort us because of how tough, how life has been. That is not an apology at all. An apology is, I did X, it hurt you. I'm sorry. What I did at X directly led to your pain. I'm sorry. I see the link between what I did and your pain. That's an apology. And then, after the apology, is either, how can I make it right? What amends can I do? Or, what can I do to not make it happen again? So sometimes you can't make it right. You just can't. But what you can do is, go to therapy. Have somebody follow you so you don't do it again, whatever. But you can stop doing what it is you did. And then it's complete. It's like, tell the truth, offer an apology, make amends, and don't do it again. Or, go sin no more. But then, and none of us are perfect, so we're never going to be done. But then, it's absolutely legit to forgive ourselves. Absolutely legit. I don't deserve eternal punishment. I don't even deserve extra special negativity because I'm just another human who has done stuff that all humans do. But what I try to encourage people is, as the 12-step programs say, do that fearless inventory of your behavior. You spend a good part of your day doing fearless inventories of other people's behaviors. You do. You're excellent at that. In fact, it's one of human beings' best gifts, is being able to find what's wrong with everyone else. But turn that at least a little bit and pick some where you did wrong, you did harm. And sincerely reach out and say, I'm sorry. I'm going to finish with, when I grew up, Mickey Mantle was my favorite baseball player, a long time ago. And I was too young for the beginning of his career, but I remember the end of his career. And I was such a fan. I mean, I grew up in suburban New York, and, well, you know, we didn't realize as kids how badly he lived his life. I mean, he was drunk most of the time, a relentless philanderer on his wife, not a particularly good parent. But, you know, we read the sports stories, and he was a good teammate. But over the years, I would read about, like, wow, like this guy, boy. Anyway, he got very ill in the 90s. He had spent most of his life as an alcoholic. He developed cirrhosis of the liver and liver cancer, got a transplant. It didn't work. And, you know, he died. But before he died, the only real thing that he wanted to do was he asked the Yankees if, I think it was Old Timers Day, but I can't be sure of it, if he could provide a video message that they would play as his goodbye. So he asked, could I record a thank you to all the fans who love me? And I just would like, so at I think Old Timers Day, they put this video on the big center field screen. And what he did was apologize and tell any young person who was listening to him, please do not follow my life. This was the message that he wanted to leave. What he basically said was, I can't believe how much goodness and kindness and love you showed me. And I'm embarrassed that my behavior was not up to that. And I'm sorry for all the little boys who followed me and everybody who had whatever, but I was wrong. And if there's anything that you can take from my life, don't live like I did. Be kind to people. Love your wife. Make sure you're a good parent. Don't drink, whatever. But this is the one, what he was doing, this is the one thing I have left to offer. And so I asked the Yankees to give me that opportunity. Now, we don't have to be that extreme as that, and hopefully your life is not like his. But I do believe that we need to, every now and then, and maybe this is coming because of Yom Kippur where I spoke, but we need to check inside and be honest with where it is. Maybe we could have done a little better, kinder, more loving, more protective. Reach out, say I'm sorry, ask what I can do, and see if we can make it better. Because that, to me, is a part of this, whatever religious life that it is we're trying to lead. Anyway, thank you.